Hi, this is Maria from Emo Gifts, partnering with Middle Country Public Library to bring you a super quick and super easy tutorial on how to make your own face mask at home. Please like and share our video if you find it useful, and of course, don't forget to follow Middle Country Public Library for more great content, how-to videos, and online projects. And also, look for them on Instagram and Facebook. They're there too. All right, guys, let's have some fun and get this project started. Here we go. Okay, first things first, our materials. We're going to use a fat quarter or scrap fabric of cotton material. This is going to be better for your face. It's going to be more breathable too. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch elastic. You don't need that much. We're just going to use 2 strips of 7 inch. So yeah, you don't need that many. We're going to need also, aside from our fabric, our ruler, our tape measure, straight pins, scissors, rotary cutter, your seam ripper, and a pencil or a fabric marker. Now we're going to go ahead and set all of our tools aside, and we're going to cut our fabric. I'm using some scrap fabric from another project that I had earlier in the month. And like I said, you can just use any large scrap, or even just a fat quarter, or even 2 fat quarters. We're going to cut these rectangles into 6 by 9 pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out my fabric, 6 inches right now. I'm going to go ahead and cut with my rotary cutter. You can feel free to use your fabric marker and just trace the line and cut it with scissors if that's easier for you. I know rotary cutters can be a little bit tricky, and they can be pretty sharp, so just be careful when you are cutting. Okay, and now we're going to trim to make this 9 inches long. And if I didn't mention this before, a good way to prep your fabric is always to wash and dry it beforehand, just because it takes any shrinkage away, and you're just going to be left with, you know, what you're going to have for pretty much the duration of your project. All right, I'm going to trim my second piece of fabric. Now, like I said, you can use pretty much any cotton fabric, fat quarters, scraps. I'm using 2 different patterns just because I like to have mine to be reversible, but you can definitely just be as creative as you'd like, be as simple as you'd like, and I'm sure your project will turn out beautifully either way. All right, both pieces of fabric are 9 by 6. I'm just going to place them right sides together and put them aside for a minute. Okay, I'm going to cut my 2 pieces of elastic. Like I said, 1/4 inch elastic is preferable for this project, and they're only going to be 7 inch strips. Now, these measurements are pretty standard for an average face. I am using the CDC guidelines for this project, so these are pretty standard measurements. You can shorten the measurements or elongate them depending on your need and your preference, of course. So it's very versatile for you to use, but this right now is actually pretty average. Okay, like I said, let's put our fabric right sides together. And we're going to go ahead and start pinning. Now, I like to use 1 or 2 pins in the middle just so the fabric doesn't shift around as I'm sewing. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pin the elastic sandwiched in between the 2 pieces of fabric. Okay, and we're going to go from corner to corner. So from one corner like this to the opposite corner. Now, the reason why we do this is to make sure that we get all of the elastic sewn in without having to mind the middle part of the elastic and accidentally sewing it into the seam. Okay, we're doing the same thing for the other side. Sandwiching that elastic between the two fabrics. Be careful not to prick your finger with the needles. Okay, and we have the four sides secure. Everything just seems to be, pretty much secure and ready to be sewn. Double check that all my elastic is caught in the middle and, it's close to the corners. And now we're going to go ahead and sew. We are going to be using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we're going to be using a straight stitch. Since this fabric does not have an elasticity to it, you do not need to do a zigzag stitch. But of course, if you're using any type of jersey fabric, you might want to use a zigzag instead. But for this, we're just using a straightforward straight stitch. If you're used to quilting, you can use a stitch similar to that. And if this is one of your first projects, then feel free to set your knob settings to something down the middle, like a straight stitch that's maybe a size 2 or a size 3. Okay, and as you can see here, the closer I'm getting to my corners, I am turning my fabric. And basically all you have to do is make sure that your needle is in the downward position, and then just lift your foot and turn that fabric. This is going to make sure that you don't have to clip the threads, just so you could go and sew on the next side. All right, there we go again. And now what we're going to do is just leave 2 or 3 inches of a gap between the point where we started and where we're finishing our stitch. This space is meant for us to be able to turn our project inside out. So right now I'm just taking out all the pins. I'm making sure that there's nothing in there that can prick me. And I'm gonna go ahead and open my opening and turn the project over. Okay, now feel free to use a pencil, the back of a pencil, or the back of a pen to just push out those corners. You want to make sure that you don't have anything bulky in there. And of course, you just want to make it nice and neat looking. Perfect. All right, now we're just going to smooth out everything. Make sure we tuck in those raw edges from the opening. We're going to finger press it and just smooth everything out to prepare it for our pleats. Now, please don't be intimidated by the word pleats. They're very, very simple. We're just gonna make sure that everything is nice and neat first, smoothed out. And we're gonna take our fabric and we're gonna go ahead and fold it about 1/2 inch away from you. And you're gonna finger press it a little bit just to help you. And then you're gonna pin it in place on both sides. And then we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. I'm going to fold about 1/2 inch away from you, right under that first pleat, sorry. And that's it. We're going to pin in place. This is what it looks like in the front, the back, and a little quick side view. All right. So now we're ready to sew again, and we're going to go ahead and sew all 4 sides. We're going to use, once again, a straight stitch and a quarter seam allowance to sew all of the 4 sides. Just making sure that the open space that you had that you used to turn over your project is closed shut. Wonderful. This is looking good, and as we near the end of our project, I'm just gonna go ahead and remind you, take it slow. This is a very simple and enjoyable project. No need to rush through it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just, have some fun with it and use any fabric that brings you joy. That's always what I like to say. And, this is a great gift for other people, and this is great to just make multiple for yourself, to match maybe to outfits or something like that. All right, we're all done. We're clipping our tail ends, we're taking out our straight pins, and that's it. You have now finished your very own homemade face mask. Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a pleasure. Don't forget to follow Middle Country Public Library here on YouTube and Instagram, as well as Facebook and other social media. They will have wonderful projects for you, both DIY and, of course, any other programs that the library offers. See you soon, and stay well.